Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. His black shoes clicked on the crystal floor as he made his way to the center of the room. Above him, representatives from 43 different alien species sat in floating pods, their strange eyes watching his every move. Chen had done this walk many times before. For 3 years he had come to these chambers to receive orders. The council would tell him where human ships needed to go, which trade routes needed protection, and which worlds required help. Humanity had served faithfully, never asking for much in return except the promise of full membership in the council. Today was supposed to be different. Today, Earth was finally going to become a full member of the Galactic Council. Chen carried the signed documents in his briefcase. 3 years of loyal service had earned humanity this moment. The chamber fell silent as Chancellor Vextar floated down from his high seat. The Altarian leader was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue metal and eyes that glowed white. He had always spoken kindly to Chen before, praising human efforts and promising great things for Earth's future. But today, something was wrong. Vextar's usual smile was gone. The other representatives seemed nervous, their various tentacles, claws, and appendages shifting restlessly in their pods. Ambassador Chen, Vextar began, his voice echoing through the chamber. The council has made a decision regarding humanity's future. Chen stepped forward eagerly. This was it. After 3 years of proving themselves, humans would finally have a voice in galactic affairs. They would sit at the table with the great civilizations of the galaxy. However, Vextar continued, and Chen felt his heart drop. The council has determined that humanity's rapid military growth poses a threat to galactic stability. Chen blinked. I'm sorry, Chancellor, but I don't understand. Our military serves the council. We've only built ships to protect the trade routes you assigned to us. Yes, said Vextar slowly, and in doing so you have created the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Stronger even than the Vorthan Empire. The mention of the Vorthans made Chen tense. The Vorthan Empire had been expanding for decades, conquering worlds and enslaving entire species. They were the council's greatest enemy, and humanity had been their greatest weapon against Vorthan expansion. The council has reached an agreement with the Vorthan Empire, Vextar announced. In exchange for peace, we have offered them something they have long desired. Chen's blood turned cold. What have you offered them? Earth, Vextar said simply, and all human colonies. The words hit Chen like a physical blow. He staggered backward, his briefcase falling from his hands and scattering papers across the crystal floor. You're giving us to the Vorthans? Chen whispered. After everything we've done for you? It is a necessary sacrifice, said another voice. Representative Zixara of the Hive Collective floated forward, her insect-like head tilting as she spoke. Humanity has become too powerful, too dangerous. Better to eliminate the threat now before it grows beyond our control. Chen looked around the chamber at the faces of species humanity had protected. The Crystalline Collective, whose trade ships human vessels had escorted safely through dangerous space. The Aquatic Federation, whose water worlds human engineers had helped terraform. The Peaceful Assembly of Minds, whose philosophy ships human crews had defended from Vorthan raiders. All of them were nodding in agreement. How long do we have? Chen asked quietly. The Vorthan fleet is already in position around Earth, Vextar replied. Your orbital defense stations are being destroyed as we speak. Chen's hands shook as he activated his communication device. The signal was weak, but he could hear Admiral Hassan's voice crackling through from Earth. Chen, thank God, the Vorthans came out of nowhere. Our defense grid is gone. They're demanding complete surrender or they'll start bombing cities. The chamber was silent as Chen processed this information. 3 years of loyal service, 3 years of protecting ungrateful species who saw humanity as nothing more than useful tools. And now, when humanity had proven their worth, they were being thrown away like broken equipment. I need to speak with my government, Chen said, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. There is nothing to discuss, Vextar replied. The decision has been made. Humanity will surrender to the Vorthan Empire. In return, the galaxy will have peace, Chen laughed bitterly. You think the Vorthans will stop with us? You think they'll be satisfied with just Earth? That is not your concern, Zixara buzzed. Your concern is making this transition as smooth as possible for your people. Chen bent down and gathered his scattered papers. Among them was a copy of humanity's application for full council membership. The document outlined humanity's contributions to galactic society, their commitment to peace, and their desire for cooperation with all species. He tore the paper in half. "You made a mistake," Chen said, standing up slowly. "All of you made a terrible mistake. Are you threatening the council?" Fextar asked, his white eyes glowing brighter. "No," Chen replied. "I'm making an observation. You had humanity's loyalty. You had our friendship. You had species who would have died to protect any one of you, and you threw it all away because you were afraid we might become too strong." Chen walked toward the chamber doors, his footsteps echoing in the silence. "The thing is," he continued without turning around, "you were right to be afraid, but not because we would have conquered you. You should have been afraid because now you've made us your enemies, and humans make very bad enemies." The doors closed behind Chen with a soft whisper. In the chamber, 43 species sat in silence, convinced they had just solved their greatest problem. They had no idea what they had unleashed. On Earth, Admiral Sarah Hassan watched the Vorthan fleet through the command center's main screen. Hundreds of massive warships surrounded the planet, their weapons aimed at major cities. In a few hours, they would demand Earth's complete surrender. Hassan activated her personal communicator and sent a coded message to human bases across the galaxy. The message was simple. Lazarus Protocol is now active. Across human space, men and women who had spent 3 years pretending to be merchants, diplomats, and colonists received the signal. They put down their fake identities and picked up weapons that had been hidden for years. The galaxy thought they had just eliminated humanity's threat. Instead, they had just given humanity a reason to show them what they were really capable of. The war was about to begin, and it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Because humans had spent 3 years learning everything about their alien allies, every weakness, every fear, every secret that could be used against them, the Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Sarah Hassan stood in the deep underground command center beneath Geneva, watching dozens of screens that showed the destruction happening across human space. Earth's orbital defense platforms were gone, reduced to glowing debris that lit up the night sky like deadly fireworks. But the planet's shield still held, buying them precious time. The news from the colonies was worse. New Olympia, humanity's first successful terraformed world, was under heavy bombardment. The beautiful cities that had taken decades to build were burning. Kepler's Garden, where human families had built peaceful farming communities, was being systematically destroyed by Vorthon ground forces. The mining colonies around Tau Ceti had gone silent 12 hours ago. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender demands from the Vorthon fleet commander," reported Lieutenant Torres from his communication station. "He's giving us 6 more hours before they start targeting population centers." Hassan nodded grimly. 6 hours. The Vorthons thought that was enough time for humanity to accept their fate and give up. They had no idea what humans could accomplish in 6 hours when their backs were against the wall. "Patch me through to all human commanders, all colonies, all deep space stations," Hassan ordered. "Full encryption. Emergency channels only." Within minutes, Hassan was looking at the faces of every human military leader in the galaxy. Some were calling in from ships under fire. Others were broadcasting from hidden bases that the aliens didn't even know existed. All of them were waiting for orders. "Ladies and gentlemen," Hassan began, 3 years ago we made contact with galactic civilization. We were told that if we served loyally, if we proved ourselves worthy, we would be welcomed as equals. Today we learned that was a lie." She gestured to the screens showing burning human worlds. "The Galactic Council has sold us to our enemies. They believe we've become too strong, too dangerous to be allowed to exist. They think they can eliminate us like we're some kind of disease." Colonel Martinez, calling in from the besieged New Olympia, spoke first. "What are our orders, Admiral?" Hassan smiled coldly. "We're going to show them what dangerous really looks like. Authorization code Lazarus 77 Alpha. All assets are now active." Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. On 43 different worlds, humans who had spent 3 years pretending to be harmless traders, diplomats, and tourists suddenly revealed their true nature. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who had been working as a medical researcher on the Altarian homeworld, activated a hidden laboratory where she had been secretly developing biological weapons tailored to Altarian DNA. Marcus Chen, who ran a popular human restaurant on the Crystalline Trade Hub, unlocked a basement full of military-grade explosives and communication jammers. These weren't random humans caught up in the war. They were humanity's best and brightest, sent out years ago with the mission to learn everything possible about Earth's new alien neighbors. They had been told it was for diplomatic purposes, to help humanity better understand galactic culture. The real reason was much more practical. Humans had learned from their own history. They knew that first contact with a superior alien civilization would be dangerous. They had prepared for the day when their alien friends might become their alien enemies. While serving the Council faithfully, they had quietly cataloged every species' weaknesses, studied their technology, and positioned assets on every major world. Phase 1 is complete, reported Colonel Santos from his hidden base in the asteroid belt. All deep cover agents have confirmed receipt of activation codes. Phase 2 assets are moving into position. Phase 2 is Hassan's masterpiece. For 3 years, humanity had been sending out what appeared to be colonist ships. These vessels carried families, farmers, engineers, and all the supplies needed to build new worlds. The alien species had welcomed them, happy to see humans spreading peacefully across the galaxy rather than building up military strength near Earth. What the aliens didn't know was that half of those colonist ships were actually carrying humanity's most elite military units. The farmers were special forces operators. The engineers were weapons specialists. The families were intelligence teams trained to infiltrate and study alien societies. Admiral, Lieutenant Torres called out, "We're getting reports from the Vorthan front lines. Their advanced forces are encountering unexpected resistance." Hassan pulled up the tactical display. Vorthan ground units that had landed on human colonies were being systematically destroyed by defenders who seemed to know exactly where they would attack and how to counter their weapons. Vorthan fleet commanders were reporting mysterious technical failures that disabled their ships without warning. "Sir," reported Commander Jackson from the Tau Ceti system, "the mining colonies weren't destroyed. We evacuated all civilians to hidden facilities and replaced them with combat androids. The Vorthans think they wiped out 3,000 colonists. Actually, they destroyed 3,000 robots designed to look like human casualties." Hassan felt a grim satisfaction. Humanity had learned to think several moves ahead. While the Council had been making plans to betray them, humans had been making plans to survive that betrayal. "What about the Vorthan homeworld?" Hassan asked. Captain Kim, broadcasting from a supposedly neutral trading station, smiled. "We have assets in position. The Vorthan Emperor has no idea that his personal chef, his communications officer, and half of his palace guard are actually human operatives who've been in deep cover for 2 years. The plan was working perfectly. For 3 years, humanity had appeared to be exactly what the Council wanted them to be. Loyal, grateful servants who were happy to do the dangerous work of protecting galactic civilization. In reality, they had been conducting the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. "Admiral," Torres reported, "we're receiving transmissions from human assets across the galaxy. All positions are confirmed. All targets are identified. We're ready for Phase 3. Phase 3 was the part that would shock the galaxy. Humanity wasn't just going to fight back against the Vorthans. They were going to respond to every species that had voted for Earth's destruction. The Council had made this a galactic conflict by choosing sides. Now they would learn what it meant to be on the wrong side of a war with humans. "Execute Phase 3, Hassan ordered. "Show them what we learned while we were serving them. The first strikes would be surgical." Humanity didn't want to destroy galactic civilization. They wanted to control it. Every species that had betrayed them would find their most critical systems compromised, their leaders captured or eliminated, and their military forces neutralized. It wouldn't be random destruction. It would be precise, calculated warfare designed to achieve total victory with minimal casualties. The Council had feared that humanity was becoming too powerful. They had tried to eliminate that threat by destroying Earth. Instead, they had just taught humanity that their alien allies could never be trusted. They had turned the galaxy's most loyal species into its most determined enemy. Hassan looked at the screens showing the burning colonies and made herself a promise. When this war was over, no human world would ever burn again. The galaxy would have a new order, and humanity would make sure it was an order that protected Earth and all her children. The Council thought they had solved their human problem. Instead, they had just created a much bigger problem for themselves, because now humanity had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth's children had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They were about to discover what happened when you backed the human species into a corner and threatened their extinction. They were about to meet humanity at war. The first attack happened at exactly the same moment on 17 different Vorthan worlds. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who had spent 2 years working as a medical researcher on the Vorthan capital world, activated her hidden laboratory at precisely 800 Galactic Standard Time. The biological agent she released was invisible, odorless, and completely harmless to every species in the galaxy, except Vorthons. Within 6 hours, every Vorthon on the planet was struggling to breathe. Their atmospheric processors, which had been slowly infiltrated by human operatives over months, began producing air that Vorthon lungs couldn't process. The proud warrior species that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves choking on their own air. But humanity's genius wasn't in their cruelty. It was in their restraint. The biological agent didn't kill. It just made breathing difficult enough that Vorthons couldn't fight effectively. The atmospheric sabotage could be reversed with the right codes. Every attack was designed to disable, not destroy. This wasn't genocide. This was a demonstration, Captain Marcus. Torres stood on the bridge of his ship as it approached the massive Altarian shipyards at Proxima 7. The facility was one of the most heavily defended installations in the galaxy, protected by energy shields that could stop entire fleets and weapon platforms that could destroy a planet. Torres had been here before, many times. For 3 years, human ships had brought supplies and materials to help build the Altarian fleet. The alien engineers had welcomed Torres and his crew, proud to show off their advanced technology to their human allies. What the Altarians didn't know was that Torres had been memorizing every detail of their defenses. He knew exactly which power relays fed the shield generators, which computer systems controlled the weapons, and which access codes would shut down the entire facility. Begin the approach, Torres ordered his crew. Standard diplomatic pattern. Let them think we're here to surrender. The Altarian Defense Commander Admiral Kexvon appeared on Torres's main screen. The tall, blue-skinned alien looked confused to see a human ship approaching during the middle of a war. Captain Torres, Kexvon said in his melodic voice. This is unexpected. Have you come to negotiate your surrender? Something like that, Torres replied. I need to speak with you in person. It's about the terms for ending human resistance. Kexvon hesitated. Torres had visited the shipyards many times over the past 3 years. They had shared meals together, discussed philosophy, even attended each other's cultural ceremonies. Despite the war, Kexvon still thought of Torres as a friend. Very well, the Altarian admiral finally agreed. You may dock at Bay 12. 20 minutes later, Torres and a small team were walking through the familiar corridors of the shipyard. But instead of heading to the command center, they took a detour through the maintenance sections. In his pocket, Torres carried a small device that Dr. Walsh had designed specifically for Altarian computer systems. The virus uploaded in seconds. By the time Torres reached Kexvon's office, every computer system in the facility was under human control. I'm sorry. My friend, Torres said as Altarian security guards collapsed around them, overcome by a harmless but incapacitating gas that his team had released into the air circulation system. But you chose the wrong side. Within an hour, every Altarian ship in the facility was disabled. Their weapons were powered down, their engines were offline, and their crews were unconscious but unharmed. The most advanced shipyard in the galaxy had been captured without a single death. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. The Crystalline Collective's trade networks collapsed as human cyber warfare specialists turned their own quantum computers against them. Years of serving as technical consultants had given humans access to every major system in crystalline space. The Hive Collective found their breeding worlds under quarantine. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been studying collective biology for 3 years under the pretense of developing better medical treatments, had created a targeted virus that rendered their breeding chambers temporarily sterile. The collective's expansion would stop for years, maybe decades, but their existing population would survive. Each attack was precisely tailored to the target species' greatest weakness. Humans had spent 3 years learning everything about their alien allies. They knew which planets were most critical to each civilization's survival, which individuals held the most power, and which systems were most vulnerable to disruption. But the most shocking thing for the alien species wasn't the effectiveness of the attacks. It was the restraint. Every species that monitored human military communications heard the same thing. Minimum casualties, maximum disruption. Capture, don't kill. Disable, don't destroy. Representative Zixara of the Hive Collective managed to establish communication with Admiral Hassan from her emergency bunker beneath the Collective's capital world. Her insect-like features were twisted with confusion and fear. "Why aren't you killing us?" she demanded. "We betrayed you. We voted to give you to the Vorthans. By the laws of warfare, you have the right to destroy us completely." Hassan's face appeared on Zixara's screen, calm and professional. "Because we're not like you," the Admiral replied simply. "We don't eliminate entire species just because they become inconvenient." This response terrified the aliens more than any threat could have. They were dealing with a species that had the power to destroy them completely but chose not to. A species that fought with such precision and restraint that it seemed almost supernatural. The Peaceful Assembly of Minds, whose philosophy centered on nonviolence and meditation, found their entire leadership captured in a single coordinated operation. Human agents who had spent years studying their culture and language had infiltrated the Assembly's highest levels. The operation was so gentle that many of the captured leaders didn't realize they were prisoners until they tried to leave their meditation chambers. Even species that hadn't voted for humanity's destruction began to panic. If humans could neutralize their enemies so completely and so quietly, what would stop them from targeting everyone else? The answer came from an unexpected source. Chancellor Vextar, the Altarian leader who had announced humanity's betrayal in the council chambers, managed to broadcast a message from his prison cell on the captured shipyard. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Vextar said, his proud voice now filled with fear and respect. "I have seen the humans fight. I have watched them dismantle our defenses and capture our worlds. But I have also seen something else. I have seen them spare their enemies when they could have destroyed them." Vextar paused, looking directly into the camera. "We made a terrible mistake when we betrayed humanity. Not because they were weak, but because they were strong in ways we didn't understand. They had the power to destroy us 3 years ago. Instead, they served us faithfully, protecting us from our enemies and asking for nothing but friendship in return." The broadcast continued for several minutes, but the message was clear. Humanity wasn't just winning the war. They were winning it while proving that they were better than the species that had betrayed them. Dr. Elena Vasquez, humanity's chief geneticist, was monitoring alien communications from her laboratory on Luna when she made a disturbing discovery. Intercepted Vorthon military transmissions contained detailed biological analyses of human DNA. The Vorthans hadn't just been planning to conquer humanity. They had been planning to study them. "Admiral Hassan," Vasquez reported over the secure channel, "you need to see this. The Vorthan Empire has been conducting biological research on human samples for years. They've been analyzing our genetic structure, our evolutionary patterns, our reproductive systems." Hassan felt a cold chill run down her spine. "What kind of research?" "The kind that suggests they weren't just planning to enslave us," Vasquez replied grimly. "They were trying to figure out what makes us so adaptable, what makes us so good at surviving in different environments, what makes us evolve so quickly." The implications were terrifying. If the Vorthons had discovered humanity's evolutionary potential, then the Council's betrayal might not have been about political power or military strength. It might have been about something much more fundamental, something that would change everything about this war and humanity's place in the galaxy. Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the intercepted Vorthon research files spread across her laboratory screens. What she was reading made her hands shake and her heart race. For hours, she had been going through biological data that the Vorthons had secretly collected about humanity over the past decade. The information was detailed, precise, and absolutely terrifying. The Vorthons hadn't just been studying human military capabilities. They had been analyzing human DNA, tracking human evolution, and modeling humanity's future development. The research showed that the Vorthons had discovered something about humans that even humans themselves didn't fully understand. "Admiral Hassan, you need to get down here immediately," Vasquez said into her communicator, "and bring Dr. Chen from the Genetics Division. What I'm about to show you changes everything about this war." 20 minutes later, Admiral Hassan stood in Vasquez's laboratory looking at data that made her question everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. Dr. Chen, humanity's leading expert on alien biology, was pale as he read through the Vorthon research. "How long have they been studying us?" Hassan asked quietly. "According to these files, since before first contact," Vasquez replied. "They've been monitoring human development for at least 15 years. They have genetic samples from every human colony, DNA analysis from thousands of individuals, and evolutionary projections that go forward 5,000 years." Hassan looked at the projected model showing humanity's future development.
"What am I looking at?"
Dr. Chen pointed to a complex genetic chart. "Admiral, according to Vorthon calculations, humans aren't just another species that achieved spaceflight. We're a species in active evolutionary flux. Our exposure to alien environments, alien technology, and even alien DNA is accelerating our development in ways that shouldn't be possible." Vasquez pulled up another screen showing comparative evolutionary rates. Most species in the galaxy evolved to their current state over millions of years, then reached a stable plateau. They stop changing significantly once they achieve space travel. But humans are different. We're still evolving, and we're doing it faster than any species they've ever encountered. "How much faster?" Hassan asked. "At current rates, the Vorthons calculate that within 500 years, humans will be genetically superior to every other species in the galaxy. Within 1,000 years, we'll be so advanced that other species won't even be able to compete with us for resources. Within 5,000 years," and Dr. Chen couldn't finish the sentence. Hassan looked at the projections and understood why. Within 5,000 years, according to Vorthon models, humanity would dominate the galaxy not through conquest, but through simple evolutionary superiority. "This is why they betrayed us," Hassan said slowly. "Not because we were too strong militarily. Because we were evolving too fast," Vasquez nodded grimly. The Council's xenobiologists confirmed the Vorthon research independently. Every major species in the galaxy has known about human evolutionary potential for years. The betrayal wasn't political revenge. It was a preemptive strike against our genetic destiny. Hassan felt sick. They tried to commit genocide because they were afraid of what we might become. "Not might become," Dr. Chen corrected. "Will become. According to their data, human evolution can't be stopped. Every generation is more adaptable, more intelligent, more capable of surviving in hostile environments than the last. Our children are already showing enhanced cognitive abilities compared to pre-contact humans." The implications were staggering. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their military technology or their strategic thinking. It was their biology itself. They were a species designed by evolution to survive, adapt, and thrive in any environment. Contact with alien civilization had just accelerated a process that was already underway. "We need to broadcast this information to every human commander," Hassan decided. "They deserve to know what we're really fighting for." Within hours, the truth about humanity's evolutionary destiny was spreading through human space. The response was immediate and unexpected. Instead of celebration, many humans felt a deep sadness. They had genuinely wanted to be partners with the other species of the galaxy. Learning that their alien friends had tried to kill them because of what they might become in the distant future was heartbreaking. But the galaxy's reaction was even more dramatic. When human forces broadcast the Vorthon research files to every inhabited system, it created a panic that split galactic civilization down the middle. Species that had remained neutral suddenly faced an impossible choice. They could join the Council in trying to destroy humanity before humans became too powerful to stop, or they could surrender to what appeared to be humanity's inevitable dominance and hope that humans would be merciful rulers. The Aquatic Federation called an emergency session of their ruling council. Representative Glubtar, whose water world had been protected by human ships for 3 years, spoke for many when he said, "If humans are destined to rule the galaxy, we must decide whether we want to be their enemies or their subjects when that day comes." But not every species accepted the research as fact. The Peaceful Assembly of Minds, despite being captured by human forces, issued a statement challenging the Vorthon conclusions. "Evolution is not destiny," declared Master Zenith from his prison meditation chamber. "Biology may shape potential, but choice shapes reality. Humanity's genetic gifts do not determine their moral character. We have seen them choose mercy over revenge, justice over destruction. Perhaps the galaxy's future would be safer in their hands than in the hands of species who choose genocide over coexistence." This statement created the first crack in the united front against humanity. If even captured enemies were defending human moral character, maybe the evolutionary data didn't mean humanity would become tyrants. The Crystalline Collective, whose trade networks had been devastated by human cyber attacks, reached out to Admiral Hassan with a surprising proposal. "We surrender unconditionally," announced collective speaker Shardrex in a broadcast that reached the entire galaxy. "But we also offer an alliance. If humanity is destined to inherit the galaxy, we wish to be partners in building whatever comes next, not obstacles to be overcome." Hassan was stunned by the offer. After decades of war, conquest, and betrayal between galactic species, one of humanity's enemies was offering voluntary submission based on long-term evolutionary projections. But the most unexpected response came from the Vorthon Empire itself. Emperor Krathvor, the warrior leader who had ordered the attack on Earth, sent a personal message to Admiral Hassan. "Human Admiral," the Emperor said in his gravelly voice, "our research shows that your species will rule this galaxy, whether we defeat you today or not. Your evolution cannot be stopped by war, but perhaps it can be guided by wisdom. I propose a meeting between our peoples to discuss the future that is coming, whether we choose it or not." Hassan looked at the message for a long time before responding. The galaxy was offering her two paths. She could continue the war until humanity achieved total victory through force, or she could end the war by accepting that humanity's victory was already written in their genes. But there was a third option that no species had considered. An option that would prove that humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage wasn't just their adaptability or intelligence. It was their capacity to transform enemies into family, to turn conquest into cooperation, and to build something better than what existed before. "Dr. Vasquez," Hassan said finally, "prepare a detailed analysis of human-alien genetic compatibility. I want to know if humans can interbreed with any of the species we're fighting." Vasquez looked shocked. "Admiral, you can't be thinking of—" "I'm thinking of evolution," Hassan replied. "The Vorthons are right that human evolution can't be stopped. But they're wrong about what that evolution will look like. We're not going to rule the galaxy by replacing other species. We're going to rule it by becoming part of all of them." The galaxy had feared humanity's evolutionary destiny. They were about to discover that destiny was even more radical than they had imagined. The siege of the Galactic Council's homeworld lasted exactly 6 hours and 14 minutes. Admiral Hassan's fleet surrounded the planet, while human operatives who had been working as maintenance staff, diplomatic assistants, and cultural observers for 3 years simultaneously took control of every critical system on the world. The Council's mighty planetary shields, which had protected the homeworld for centuries, shut down without a fight. The orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets powered down their weapons and opened their docking bays to human ships. Even the emergency communication systems that would have called for help from across the galaxy went silent. But when the planetary shields fell and the Council's leaders prepared for the orbital bombardment that would end their civilization, something unprecedented happened instead. Medical ships emerged from Admiral Hassan's fleet. Instead of bombs and missiles, the human ships deployed doctors, engineers, and humanitarian aid workers. Instead of destroying the Council's capital city, human forces began setting up emergency medical stations and food distribution centers. Instead of conquest, humanity offered assistance. Chancellor Vextar, who had spent the past 3 months as a prisoner on the captured Altarian shipyards, watched the invasion broadcast with growing amazement. "They're not here to destroy us," he whispered to his guards. "They're here to save us." Admiral Hassan stood in the same council chambers where Ambassador Chen had been betrayed months earlier. The floating pods that once held representatives from 43 species now contained prisoners awaiting judgment. But Hassan hadn't come to deliver punishment. She had come to offer something that no conquering species in galactic history had ever provided: a choice. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Hassan began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber, "you stand accused of conspiracy to commit genocide, betrayal of treaty obligations, and crimes against sentient beings. Under the laws of warfare, humanity would be justified in demanding your complete destruction." The alien prisoners shifted nervously in their restraints. Many expected death. Others hoped for slavery. None of them expected what came next. "However," Hassan continued, "humanity chooses a different path. We offer you unconditional surrender, full reparations to human colonies damaged in this conflict, and the establishment of a new galactic government with humanity as its administrators. In return, we offer you something your species have never given to conquered peoples: partnership in building a better future. Representative Zixara of the Hive Collective spoke first. What kind of partnership? You have defeated us completely. We have nothing left to offer except our submission. Hassan smiled. You have everything to offer. Your knowledge, your culture, your unique perspectives on existence itself. Humanity didn't fight this war to rule over you. We fought it to ensure that no species will ever again face extinction, simply because they became inconvenient to others. Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped forward, carrying a datapad with information that would change everything about galactic civilization. Our research has confirmed that humans can successfully interbreed with 17 different species in this chamber. Our children together will be stronger, smarter, and more adaptable than either parent species alone. The implications hit the prisoners immediately. Humanity wasn't offering conquest. They were offering evolution itself. The choice is yours, Hassan continued. You can maintain your species' isolation and face slow genetic decline as other civilizations advance beyond you, or you can join us in creating something entirely new. A galactic civilization where differences in biology become advantages in cooperation, where each species contributes their greatest strengths to humanity's greatest gift, our ability to adapt and grow. The first species to accept was completely unexpected. Emperor Krathvor of the Vorthan Empire, the warrior leader whose fleets had bombarded human colonies, stepped forward from his restraints. I accept, the Emperor said in his deep, gravelly voice. My people are warriors, but we have grown stagnant in our conquests. Perhaps it is time to learn what humans can teach us about evolution through cooperation, rather than domination. Within hours, the acceptance spread through the chamber. Species after species chose partnership over isolation, cooperation over competition. But the real transformation began when human engineers, doctors, and teachers started working alongside their former enemies. Captain Marcus Torres found himself working with Admiral Kexavon, the Altarian commander he had captured at the shipyards. Together, they were redesigning the facility to produce ships that combined human adaptability with Altarian elegance. The first vessels from their collaboration were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who had developed biological weapons to defeat the Vorthans, was now working with Vorthon scientists to create medical treatments that worked for both species. Her former targets had become her research partners. Across the galaxy, similar partnerships were forming. Human tactical expertise combined with crystalline computational power to create new forms of artificial intelligence. Human emotional intuition merged with Hive. Collective organizational efficiency to build social systems that maximized both individual freedom and collective benefit. But the most profound changes were happening at the most personal level. The first human-alien hybrid children began to be born on worlds across the new Federation. These children inherited the best traits of both parent species. Human adaptability combined with alien specializations that had evolved over millions of years. A human Altarian child born on New Geneva could process mathematical concepts at speeds that amazed both species. A human Vorthan hybrid on the mining world of Kepler's garden showed physical strength and endurance that surpassed either parent while maintaining the emotional intelligence that made humans such effective diplomats. The galaxy watched in fascination as humanity's evolutionary destiny revealed itself. Humans weren't destined to replace other species. They were destined to become part of all of them, creating a new form of galactic civilization that had never existed before. The Galactic Federation that emerged from the ashes of the old council bore no resemblance to the corrupt, fearful organization that had betrayed humanity. Instead of species competing for resources and power, the Federation became a cooperative effort where each world contributed what it did best to the greater good of all human. Administrators worked with alien specialists to govern worlds better than any single species could have managed alone. Human teachers worked with alien scholars to educate children who represented the future of multiple species at once. Human doctors worked with alien healers to provide medical care that drew from the knowledge of dozens of civilizations. 5 years after the war ended, Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the rebuilt council chambers addressing representatives from hundreds of worlds. The man who had once been betrayed by alien allies now served as the first Director General of the Galactic Federation. "We have learned," Chen said to the mixed crowd of humans, aliens, and hybrid children who filled the chamber, that evolution is not about becoming stronger than others. It is about becoming better together than any of us could be alone. In the audience, Admiral Hassan sat next to her daughter, a human aquatic hybrid whose gills allowed her to breathe both air and water, while her human brain gave her the creativity to write poetry that moved beings from a dozen different species to tears. The galaxy had feared humanity's evolutionary destiny. They had tried to prevent human dominance through genocide and betrayal. Instead, they had accelerated the very future they feared while discovering that humanity's greatest strength was not their ability to conquer, but their ability to welcome others into their family. The war that began with betrayal had ended with the birth of a new form of civilization. Humans had indeed inherited the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as gardeners who helped every species grow into something greater than they had ever been alone. And as the first generation of truly galactic children began to explore the stars,
carrying the combined heritage of dozens of species in their DNA,
the galaxy realized that humanity's promise had always been true. They had never wanted to rule. They had always wanted to belong. And in learning to belong everywhere, they had given the galaxy something it had never had before: a future where difference was strength, where evolution was cooperation, and where every species could contribute to building something better than any of them could create alone. The Council had betrayed Earth because they feared what humanity might become. They never imagined that what humanity would become was family to the entire galaxy.